Hello, everyone. I would first like to thank each of you for your service and commitment to the people of Prince George's County and this government. Today, you will be reviewing a video produced by the Prince George's County Department of Family Services, an agency that is helping us to lead the way in domestic violence awareness and education. As you may know, domestic violence is a problem in many communities and very difficult to identify and stop. In order to ensure that all employees are aware and educated about this important issue, we created a webinar that will help us better understand domestic violence and the resources that are available to residents. The idea is to make sure that county employees help us spread the word about what is available to the people who may need assistance. So please take a moment to view this video and help us spread the word. Thank you.
Greetings. I'm Elena Butler, Director of the Prince George's County Department of Family Services. Thank you to our exemplary County Executive, Rashawn L. Baker III. I, too, welcome all county employees and the public at large to our Domestic Violence 101 webinar, where in a moment we will discuss a variety of topics on domestic violence with the goal to prevent the occurrence of domestic violence in Prince George's County. We have assembled 4 dynamic speakers to help you define domestic violence, identify the different types of domestic violence, signs, red flags, and available resources. Let's welcome the Honorable Ada Clark Edwards, Associate Judge of the District Court of Maryland for Prince George's County, Dr. Tricia Bent-Goodley, Professor of Social Work at Howard University and the Founding Director of the Howard University Interpersonal Violence Prevention Program, Reverend Tony Lee, the founder and senior pastor of the Community of Hope AME Church in Hillcrest Heights, Maryland, and Jackie M. Roan, Division Manager for the Prince George's County Department of Family Services Domestic Violence and Human Trafficking Division. So I'd like to thank all of our panelists for being here.
It's great to be here.
Happy to be here.
So let's get started. My first question is to Judge Clark Edwards. What is domestic violence and how often does it occur?
Domestic violence encompasses a wide variety of abusive behaviors by which one party is physically violent to the other and/or engages in a pattern of behavior by which he or she exerts power and control over the other partner. The most commonly understood form of domestic violence is actual assault and battery by one party upon the other. This often includes sexual assault. I will discuss more about the various forms of domestic violence and abuse later. Statistically, intimate partner violence accounts for 15% of all violent crime reported in the United States. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men have been victims of physical violence by an intimate partner. And women between the ages of 18 through 24 are most commonly abused by an intimate partner. Additionally, nearly 1.5 million high school students nationwide experience physical abuse from a dating partner in a single year. In the last year, in Prince George's County, we have also found that 7 children under the age of 3 years old have been killed by a parent or caregiver. This is the worst example of domestic violence. I want to point out that abusers can be male or female. Even though most abusers are male, the information provided in this webinar applies to both male and female abusers.
My next question is to Dr. Tricia Bent-Goodley. What signs should we look for to determine if a person is in a domestic violence or potential domestic violence situation?
There are several signs related to domestic violence. Most think of the physical signs, such as bruising and marks that may be left on the body. However, there are other signs that are equally important. For example, isolation is a common indicator of domestic violence. This is where you may see a person become less and less engaged with family and friends. Another sign to look for is controlling behaviors. For example, the person may need to get permission to go out. They may need to seek permission to talk on the phone, use the computer, or talk with friends and family. Another important sign or indicator is excessive jealousy. For example, the abusive partner may become jealous when the survivor talks to someone, especially someone of the opposite sex.
My next question is for Reverend Lee. Reverend Lee, what can men do to encourage each other to stop, report, or speak out about domestic violence?
Well, men can speak out against domestic violence They can make the decision to spread ideas of healthy masculinity and positive manhood. Now, most men stand against domestic violence. We need them to be vocal and use their voice to promote change.
Let's go back to Judge Clark Edwards. What are the different types of domestic violence?
Domestic abuse and violence takes various forms. These forms of abuse include physical, sexual, psychological, verbal, economic, and spiritual. Physical violence includes hitting, punching, kicking, pushing, and strangling, all of which are criminal offenses. Sexual violence may include forcing unwanted intercourse on an unwilling partner or demanding sexual acts that the partner performs under duress. Psychological abuse might include humiliating or degrading the partner, isolating the partner from friends and family, and/or using children to manipulate or control the partner. Economic abuse includes refusing to allow the partner control or access to funds, not allowing the partner to work, interfering with the partner's job, and/or controlling access to financial documents. Spiritual abuse includes using religion or scripture to manipulate the partner to change or control her or his behavior.
Dr. Bent-Goodley, are there any signs that we should be particularly aware of?
There are several important red flag indicators. Red flags are those things that we have found consistent with many serious domestic violence injuries or fatalities. Some of the red flags to be aware of include access to a firearm. Having a firearm in the house should be taken extremely seriously, especially if one partner ever threatens to kill or harm the other. Stalking is another important red flag. The usual forms of stalking are following a person, showing up at their place of work or residence, but stalking also can take place using technology through social media, constant text messaging, and/or using tracking devices. Another red flag is making threats of violence. We've learned that when a person threatens to hurt him or herself and/or to hurt his or her partner, that it is an extremely serious red flag that we must pay close attention to. Perhaps the most important red flag occurs when one partner in an abusive relationship leaves the relationship. It is important to recognize that there are many survivors who separate from their abusive partner to live happy and productive lives. So by no means do we want to discourage separation. However, I do want to highlight how important it is to have a safety plan for leaving. It is very important to receive support from a domestic violence provider whose contact information will be given at the end of this webinar, who can help develop a safety plan.
Reverend Lee, what support resources are available specifically for men about domestic violence?
So the Family Crisis Center of Prince George's County offers two programs. The Abuser Intervention Program is a 26-week program serving persons with anger and/or domestic violence issues. Participants can be self-referred or court-mandated to participate as a result of perpetrating an assault or as a preventative act to avoid violence. The curriculum examines several areas related to learning how to interact in a nonviolent and non-confrontational manner. The Anger Management Program is also a 12-week program offered to individuals who have had conflict with someone other than an intimate partner. Participants gain understanding of anger cues, triggers, and how to resolve conflicts and manage anger in a nonviolent manner. Both programs are fee-based on a sliding scale according to participants' income. They are open to men and women and are available in Spanish. Also, the Prince George's County Health Department's Adams House offers programs that promote healthy behaviors among families. Some of the programs are child support advocacy, intimate partner strategies, and custody visitation services.
Dr. Bent-Goodley, how many children witness domestic violence and how does it impact them?
Approximately 3 to 4 million children witness domestic violence each year. They exhibit a range of emotions, including feeling shame, anger, rage, and embarrassment. These children have often been found to experience depression, anxiety, sleep problems, and even headaches and stomach aches. Being a witness of domestic violence as a child does not automatically mean that the child will later become a victim or perpetrator of domestic violence. However, studies have found that there is a connection between child witnesses of abuse and persons who later become victims or perpetrators.
Ms. Roan, what services does the Department of Family Services offer for victims and survivors of domestic violence?
The Prince George's County Department of Family Services collaborates with the Domestic Violence Provider Network and community stakeholders to expand the continuum of services to individuals and families affected by domestic violence and other domestic abuse, as well as focus on prevention and community outreach to reduce the occurrence of domestic violence in the county. As mentioned by some of the other panelists, domestic violence crosses all economic income levels. Each unhealthy relationship presents its own unique circumstances, situation, and needs. The Prince George's County Family Crisis Center is the only emergency domestic violence shelter in our county. It does a good job of meeting the needs of individuals and families experiencing crisis due to violence and abusive behavior in their homes. However, as we know, oftentimes people remain in unhealthy relationships because they don't want to live in a sheltered environment. The Department of Family Services can assist individuals and families affected by domestic violence and other abuse in their homes with funding from the Survivor Resiliency Fund. Additionally, every Wednesday afternoon between the hours of 1 and 4 p.m., individuals and families affected by domestic violence and other abuse in their home can come to the department to meet with a housing resource coordinator. The coordinator will assist with developing a safety plan, obtaining information regarding emergency assistance and shelter support, assistance with apartment or housing transfers, and making connections to services throughout the provider network. I would also encourage individuals in unhealthy relationships to visit the Family Justice Center in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. The Family Justice Center offers individuals and families affected by domestic violence and other abuse in the home a holistic approach to access community-based advocates and resources, and if they desire, law enforcement personnel. At the end of the day, we want residents to know that services and resource options for individuals and families affected by domestic violence, sexual assault, and other abuse is available in Prince George's County.
That's a wrap for this webinar. A big round of applause to all of our panelists and to our target audience. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you've learned a great deal about domestic violence and the part you can play in helping us end it in Prince George's County, Maryland. Resources. In an emergency, call 911. For more information about services and resources for individuals and families affected by domestic violence, call 211. The Department of Family Services would like to acknowledge the following: the Office of the County Executive, the Office of the State's Attorney, the Office of Human Resources Management, the Employee Assistance Program, and the Date Safe Project. This domestic violence webinar has been brought to you by the Prince George's County Department of Family Services Domestic Violence and Human Trafficking Division.